Wow, look at that wall behind you, Ivan. Man, you're the man.
Yeah, you're just bragging now. I'm not even sure those are yours. How you doing, my friend? You doing all right?
Doing great, thanks. How are you guys?
Good.
Oh, besides being older, fatter, and balder, I'm doing really great.
Good.
You staying busy?
Always, yeah.
Now, where are you right now?
I'm on Vancouver Island.
Oh, well, fancy, fine.
Yeah.
Are you going to make your way to Arkansas anytime in the near future?
Hopefully, yeah.
Now, I tell you, I mean, it must be, I mean, you can look at your wall and see what a career you've had, but what was it like? I mean, we're going to go back. I know you get told, asked this a million times, how'd you get started? But when you got started and when you finally reached success, what was it like to hear your music on the radio for the first time?
It was pretty surreal, I must admit. It was, it was a lot of fun. Those were fun times. The '80s were definitely a lot of fun.
Do you remember
We had a
where
good
you
time.
were the first time you heard your song on the radio?
I can't remember exactly, but I was probably in Montreal somewhere, and that's where I grew up. I was born in the States, but I grew up in Montreal, so it was probably in Montreal somewhere.
How cool. Oh, yeah, because you have a lot of French influence in your songs, and you kind of grew up, with a French background, didn't you?
I did. I went to school in French, and my first wife was from France, and I studied law in France for a while. So
That's good. The law you studied probably helped you when you got rid of your first wife, right?
yeah, exactly.
So when you guys started, what got like because your big song was a very unique song. I mean, you had even your video was unique. Who came up with that? Who was the brainchild behind that? Was that you?
Yeah, it was for the song. I wrote the song by myself, but the video was a combination of myself and Tim Pope, the video director, who was in England, and it was the days before the internet, and we communicated by writing letters to each other because long distance
What? What are
long distance
those?
phone calls were really expensive. So we both each wrote out a script, a storyboard for the video, and the letters crossed each other, and we realized that we had both come up with the same idea, which was a Pied Piper kind of thing. And so when we finally met, we got along really well. We both had the same idea, so it was easy from then on in.
Now, the video, obviously, kind of medieval times. Do you still keep in contact with any of the people that you had in that video at that time?
Oh yeah, the little fellow and I are in contact quite a bit, and even the blonde girl, we sort of say hi now and then. But that video definitely was a big part of the song too, because like these days you can watch videos, and you watch videos from the '80s and kind of chuckle at the hairstyles and the zipper clothing and the neon and everything. But that video is kind of timeless. It's kind of like watching a Western or something like that. You
Oh,
can't
it's
really
fantastic.
Oh
you
yeah.
can't really place it. So it's stood the test of time, as they
Because I have
say.
two daughters, and they're about 10, 15 years apart. And I asked my youngest daughter, I said, hey, do you know Men Without Hats? And she goes, I think so. I asked my oldest daughter, I get back, dude, I know them.
Yeah, well, we're lucky that shows like Glee picked us up, and
Oh, yeah.
and even the Simpsons and the Family Guy. Those things really
Wednesday
helped.
actually used that song on one of the videos of her dancing.
Yeah. So we've
That was really
sort
cool.
of crossed generations, and that's what's a lot of fun when we do shows now. We get our original fans show up, and they bring their kids and sometimes even their grandkids. So it's a family affair.
That's very cool.
Now, what was the biggest concert you guys actually had?
Oh, a few years ago we played the Montreal Jazz Festival in front of over 100,000 people. So that
Holy
was
cow.
that was a big one.
Now, do you remember the smallest crowd that you've ever performed in front of?
Oh, at the beginning we played a lot of small crowds at the beginning.
With mom and dad?
Yeah, we kind of clawed our way up, you know.
Now, how old were you when all the safety dance and all that, took off?
Yeah, I was in my mid 20s. I was going to university in Montreal. I was in the film and communications department at McGill University, and was working in the emergency room of the Montreal General Hospital. So I started the band off, and as we got, it was the late '70s, early '80s, and as we got more busy, the school kind of went by the wayside first, and then the job at the Montreal General Hospital went, and I ended up doing the band full time.
So, what did your family think? Were they on board with you? Were
Oh,
supportive?
totally. My mother was a music teacher at McGill University.
Oh,
She
cool.
taught voice, and so we had a lot of music in our family. My dad was an amateur musician who had a band with his dad out in the
Wow.
prairies in Canada. So
Did they ever
he
ask
played.
you to be in your band?
No, no, no.
Did you ever ask them to be in your band?
They showed up a lot to a lot of our shows at the beginning. They were really supportive, and that's a big part of it. A lot of bands, a lot of good musicians don't have that family support, and that's makes it harder. But they let us practice at home. We had a drum kit, in downstairs, and we were, could make as much noise as we want. So it was great.
Now that band, when your song was a big hit worldwide, it wasn't just in the United States or in Canada, it was worldwide. How many concerts were you doing a year when that was really hitting the tops?
Oh, we were playing quite a bit. We were doing, hundreds of shows a year, and
Wow.
but since I put the band back together, I put the band back in 2010, 15 years ago now. We put the band back on the road, and we've gone to more places this time out than we did in the 80s.
Oh my gosh.
We've been to South Africa, Australia, Scandinavia, South America, places we'd never been the first time. So we're having a good time now. We're really busy this time. We've got a big European tour coming up this summer, and another American tour after that, and then cross Canada tour after that. So we got a busy year ahead.
But after you're done with each concert, is it harder and harder to wake up in the morning?
No, no, I've had to make adjustments to my lifestyle, but it's good. I enjoy doing it, and that makes it a lot of fun. There's not as much pressure this time out. The first time back in the '80s, I would liken being in a young band to being on a sports team, being on a hockey team or a baseball team. You travel around the country. There's a lot of competition between young bands. You're competing for airwaves and room in the press and positions on the charts. And so there's a lot, you're flogging a new record, most likely. So there's a lot of pressure when you're a young band to get out there and do it. But right now, it's the bands that are on the circuit that we're playing are all out there because they're having fun.
That's cool.
I'm getting to hang out with all the bands that I listened to and liked back in the '80s. So it's great. It's
a different world now, though, isn't it? I mean, when you started out, wasn't MTV like in its prime? Did MTV kind of launch? I don't want to say a career, but
we had MTV was really instrumental. Like, back in those days, even it was in its infancy, and they only had about 10 videos out then, so we were getting like super heavy rotation, being played next to Michael Jackson Thriller and stuff like that. So the video, the exposure off the video really changed my life. But it's a different world now, but it's a lot of it's cyclical too, because back in my day when I was growing up, I was listening to the Beatles, and the market was a singles market, and the Beatles would make single after single after single, and when they had 10 or 12 singles, they'd put them all on an album and then start making singles again. And that's kind of what the market's like now. It's gone full circle, and you don't have to put out a full album now. You put out a song, and you put out a remix, and you test the waters. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you pull it back and tweak it and throw it out again. And so, it's kind of, there are things that came back, there are things that changed. Back in our days, in the '80s, video was the new technology. Computers were just coming into the music business. And so, there's different technologies coming in now, streaming and TikTok and all that. it's just, the guys that came before me were all, got freaked out over video and 12-inch remixes. They didn't know how to handle that. So it's the same thing with us. We just have to adjust to the new technologies and to, what the kids are expecting, and take it from there.
Are y'all making TikTok videos or Facebook or anything like that now?
Oh yeah. We have a Facebook page. We got a TikTok page and Instagram page and Twitter X page. You have to keep up with everything. So it's challenge.
If you could go back, I usually ask this, if you could go back, what's one thing that you would do to change? If there's anything you could change?
Well, I don't know. I would say maybe listen to the business more. Like back when you're a young artist, you tend to you're doing it for the art. You don't realize that music is a business, and there are sort of prerequisites that you have to sort of fall in line with, or you're going to get forgotten. So I mean, we did a good job of it, but one example is, something that I did right, and I'm glad I did, was when we did Pop Goes the World. I sent a demo into New York to the guy who signed me to the label, and there was like 10 songs on the demo, and there was one little snippet that I had just written, was a little instrumental. It was the melody riff off Pop Goes the World, and it had no lyrics. It was a minute long. I had just thrown it out there just as a tag. I wanted it to be a little musical interlude on the album. And so the guy at the record company listened to it, and he got back in touch with me, and he says, okay, that demo you sent me, those 10 songs, throw them away. That little 1 minute song that you have there with instrumental, he goes, make that a real song, write lyrics to it, put a chorus on it, make that into a full-blown song, and then write 10 more just like it. And so I thought about it for a while. Kind of like at the beginning, I was kind of like, who is this guy? What's he talking about? But then I listened to him, and I did exactly what he told me to do. And, the rest is history. It was a very successful song and record for us. And so those are the things. I'm glad I did that. And a lot of young artists tend to listen to their art more than their wallet. So it's a business, and that's one thing that you have to keep reminding yourself. It's hard sometimes for artists to do that, but it is first and foremost a business.
Was there any of your music back then that you wish would have been released as a single that didn't get put out there, that you really had a strong connection to?
Yeah, there was one song off the Pop Goes the World album, actually, that the song called On Tuesday. And it was a song that we got Ian Anderson, the lead guy for Jethro Tull,
yeah,
played on it. He played flute on it, and it's a kind of a slow ballady thing. And I wanted to put it out after Pop Goes the World as the second single. The whole country had kind of gone with it. All the DJs were picking up on it by themselves and playing it because it had Jethro Tull on it, because it was different than Pop Goes the World. But the record company chose to go with a similar song to Pop Goes the World, and it didn't do as well. So we still play On Tuesday, in concert, and it goes over really well. It's a crowd favorite. People love it, and I'm still disappointed that it didn't get released as a single.
There's still time, man. There's still time, Ivan.
Oh yeah.
So how can people, if they want to find out where you're touring and everything, how can they go find out that information?
Well, we have a website, safetydance.com, and a Facebook page, Men Without Hats on Facebook, and the same thing on Instagram, Men Without Hats on Instagram. All those pages have usually are keeping up to date on where we are and what we're doing.
And before I go, I might have to ask you something. Usually I don't, but can you give a shout out to Erin? She's the one that she said, you got to do that interview because, damn, I know them.
Well, hey, Erin, you can dance if you want to.
Way to go. But I tell you.
We have to ask, though. I mean, everybody wants to know. Safety Dance. I mean, I know you've said this story a million times, but a real quick summation. Where did that song come from?
Well, yeah, it was the late '70s. It was the dying days of disco, and in the clubs, the DJs used to slip in Blondie's "Heart of Glass" or B-52 "Rock Lobster." They'd slip in a little new wave song in amongst all the disco songs, and so we would get up. We were really into it. We'd get up and start pogoing. Pogo dancing was just jumping up and down and bouncing off each other's chests. It was the precursor to the slam dance and the mosh pit, But the bouncers had never seen it. It was all brand new to them, and they thought we were fighting. So we'd get kicked out every time we did it.
Oh my God.
And so it happened quite a few times. After getting kicked out after a few times, I went home and did something about it, wrote the song.
I love it. Fantastic. Well, Ivan, man, thanks so much for taking the time. Hopefully your tours continue to be, sold out and you're staying safe, and hopefully you'll make it here into Arkansas somewhere in the near future.
Because if you come here, we'll take you out to some of the best barbecue you've ever had. It's on you,
great.
but we'll take you out.
Great. Looking forward to it. Nice talking to you guys.
Be safe. Thanks, Ivan.
Yeah, take care, man.
You can dance if you want to. Roy.
Yeah, I think I'll dance right now.